I found out my husband was sleeping with my sister 3 weeks before I exposed them. I didn't confront him right away. I documented everything. By the time they realized I knew, the damage was already irreversible. People loved calling me lucky. Lucky marriage, lucky promotions, lucky life. They never saw the years I spent sleeping in my office chair, heels kicked off under my desk, reworking reports until dawn while the cleaning staff vacuumed around me. They never noticed how my hands shook from too much coffee and not enough sleep. They only saw the results. My husband, Caleb, started joking about it once my salary surpassed his. "Guess I'm married up," he'd say at dinners. Everyone laughed with him. My sister Lena laughed the loudest. After my promotion, she began visiting more often. Too often, she borrowed my clothes without asking, used my bathroom, stayed late when Caleb worked from home. She learned my routines better than I realized. My parents praised me in public and drained me in private. "You're doing so well," my mother would say. "Help your sister. She's struggling." I paid their bills. I covered emergencies. I funded vacations they called family bonding. I thought love was supposed to be generous. Then one night I came home early from a trip I'd shortened. I heard laughter before I reached the hallway. My sister's voice comfortable, careless. My husband's laugh intimate, familiar, in my guest room. I stood there frozen, listening as Lena said, "She doesn't even notice. Everything she has is basically ours anyway." Caleb agreed. That was the moment something inside me went cold. They didn't betray me because they hated me. They betrayed me because they felt entitled, and entitlement is louder than guilt. I didn't confront them. I documented. I took screenshots, saved receipts, pulled bank records. I watched my husband move through my home like it belonged to him. I watched my sister wear my dresses and smile at me across the table. I watched my parents talk about family sacrifices. They thought I was oblivious. I was precise. 3 weeks later, my parents hosted a family dinner. They invited relatives, friends, even colleagues, people who loved congratulating me on my success. Caleb sat beside me, relaxed. Lena wore one of my dresses. My mother raised her glass. "To family," she said, "and to sacrifices made for love." I stood. "I agree," I said calmly. "Sacrifices should be acknowledged." I connected my phone to the TV. Photos appeared, messages, hotel receipts, dates overlapping my work trips. The room went silent. Lena screamed that I was lying. Caleb tried to grab the remote. I spoke over them. "You slept with my husband in my home," I said to my sister. "You knew and enabled it," I said to my parents. "And you," I looked at Caleb, "mistook access for ownership." My father shouted that I was destroying the family. I smiled. "No," I said, "I'm correcting the narrative." I walked out while they drowned in their own excuses. I invited them all over, one final time. Family dinner. My mother cooked, my sister wore red. My husband kissed my cheek like nothing had changed. We sat at the table I paid for, under the chandelier I installed with my bonus. After dessert, I stood. "I need to say something." They smiled, unguarded. I placed my phone on the table again. More evidence, more timestamps, more truth. My sister cried. My mother begged. My father accused me of being heartless. Caleb stood, angry now. "You're overreacting," he said. "You work too much. You abandoned us." "You slept with my sister," I replied calmly. "You used my money," I continued. "You planned to take what I built." He reached for my wrist. "Do not touch me." That was the moment he knew he had lost control. The divorce papers were already filed. He didn't know that. I slid the envelope across the table. He laughed. "You think you can just walk away?" he asked. "Half of everything is mine." "Read it." The prenuptial agreement was ironclad. Assets listed in black and white. Primary residence, $1.2 million, mine. Savings and investments, $940,000, mine. Company shares, bonuses, future earnings, protected. Infidelity clause, enforced. "This isn't fair," my mother whispered. No, I said. It's accurate. The divorce hearing lasted 37 minutes. I know because the clock above the judge's bench clicked louder than anyone spoke. Caleb's lawyer tried to turn time into pity. He talked about dependency, about sacrifice, about how my success had supposedly been built on a husband who stood behind me. He implied entitlement without using the word, as if love were an investment contract, as if betrayal could still collect interest. Caleb nodded along, jaw tight, eyes fixed on the table. He didn't look at me once. My lawyer stood. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't dramatize. She unfolded truth. Employment records showing Caleb quit jobs he disliked, not jobs he sacrificed for me. Tax returns proving my income tripled, while his stayed stagnant by choice. Hotel invoices from nights he claimed to be working late. Security logs placing my sister's key card at those hotels again and again. Dates, times, patterns. No career sacrifice, no financial dependency, no shared asset claims that held water. Silence fell hard. The judge didn't ask questions, didn't lean back, didn't hesitate. No alimony, he said, no claim to property. 6 months of transitional support. A pause. That is mercy. Caleb finally looked at me then. Not angry, not heartbroken, terrified, like someone who had bet his future on a lie and just watched it collapse. I didn't look back. I cut everything off the same day. Not slowly, not emotionally, clean. Credit cards declined mid-swipe. My parents' allowance didn't deposit, my sister's rent bounced. Eviction notice printed before sunset. The calls came fast, confusion first, then panic, then blame. My mother cried about family. My father accused me of cruelty. My sister screamed that I owed her for everything she'd done for me. Everything, including my husband. I blocked them one by one. No speeches, no explanations. The house became quiet. Not empty, peaceful. For the first time in years, nothing was being taken from me. Years passed quietly, productively. I was promoted, then promoted again, Director of Operations, Vice President. Board meetings replaced apologies. Equity replaced excuses. My net worth crossed numbers they couldn't pronounce, numbers that didn't ask for forgiveness. One afternoon, I saw them. Outside a restaurant I co-owned. My sister looked tired in a way youth couldn't hide. My parents looked smaller. Years of dependence finally catching up. Caleb stood apart, bitter, forgotten. They saw me through the glass. Hope flickered. I felt nothing. I didn't wave. I didn't stop. I didn't speak. I walked past them like they were strangers. Because they were. The coldest revenge isn't confrontation. It's letting them live every day knowing they lost everything, and I never needed them to win. Want to see what happens when betrayal meets revenge? Subscribe and don't miss the next story.